There are 472 subway stations in New York City, and right now, 130 of them are accessible to all riders, including New Yorkers and visitors with mobility disabilities. On Staten Island, 5 of the 21 railway stations are accessible. And of the commuter rail stations in New York City, about half of Metro North stations and 2/3 of Long Island Railroad stations are accessible. The MTA is working every day to make more stations accessible, investing billions of dollars in this work in the coming years.
But we face challenges, like limited funding and the complications of upgrading stations in a 100-year-old system. That means higher project costs, longer timelines, and more difficult designs.
That's why we're constantly exploring new ways to make stations accessible more quickly and at lower cost. In partnership with the New York City Department of City Planning and the Mayor's Office for People with Disabilities, we found a good one. We're calling it Elevate Transit, Zoning for Accessibility. It's an update to the city's zoning regulations, and it has 2 parts.
The first part of zoning for accessibility would require developers building near transit stations across the city to consult with the MTA to see if we need an easement on their property. An easement is a small, permanent space set aside in the building where the MTA could then build an elevator or other access improvement in the future. While the MTA pays for the elevators in these cases, easements can save us a lot of time and money. With easements, we can site elevators in locations that don't require relocating utility services buried under sidewalks and design more direct accessible routes. Easements can also allow us to bring accessibility to stations where it would otherwise be extremely difficult, like in the case of elevated stations above the city's often narrow sidewalks. In exchange for an easement, the developer would get some leniency with certain zoning requirements.
The second part of zoning for accessibility would mean real estate developers build elevators for the transit system. Okay, it's not quite that simple, but in a way it actually is. New projects are always being built in New York, and under zoning for accessibility, when developers build near a transit station in a high-density area, MTA and the city's Department of City Planning can work with them to install and maintain new elevators so that our customers can access the subway and the commuter railroads, which the developer would do at no cost to the MTA. In exchange, the developer would get a zoning bonus to add some square footage to their building.
Right now, similar programs exist, but are limited in scope and restricted to small areas of the city, like Lower Manhattan and Midtown. We want to expand this program to other high-density areas so we can realize these accessibility benefits and implement them across the city.
Together, these 2 approaches will allow us to make more stations accessible more quickly. Community boards and borough presidents across the city will review zoning for accessibility this spring. Then, the City Council needs to vote to approve it in the fall, so we can get to work. But we need your support to make zoning for accessibility a reality.
Now here's how you can help. First, learn more about this initiative and how it will benefit you, other riders, the city, and the MTA by visiting our website. Second, contact your local representatives and ask them to support Elevate Transit zoning for accessibility, because transit really is for everyone.
For everyone.
For everyone.
For everyone.